Welcome back. You're still watching Daybreak on this 24th day of May 2021, and it's time to take a look at the stories that are informing conversations across the country. And before we do so, I'll be introducing the panel shortly, but I want to look at the front pages of the two dailies. On the Standard, you'll see the bitter battle breaks out in Ruto's camp, and simmering supremacy wars among the DP's Mount Kenya allies threaten to split the Hustler nation ahead of 2022. The latest headache being which of the allied parties should be or should not have failed a candidate in Kiambaa poll, of course, coming from the Juja by-election where a PP candidate allied to Gatundu South MP Moses Kuria won that election, that is by the name George Koimburi. And then for Rigathi Gachagua is saying that the Hustler Nation candidate is UDA's John Njuguna Wanjiku. That is the candidate for the Hustler Nation. Any other candidate is on their own. So that's the question that they are wondering how to resolve it. Of course, you saw the Jubilee Party announcing who will be their candidate in the polls that should be coming in the next few weeks. Then you also see another story, what president must do to save succession plan. The story is on page 4 and 5 of the Standard. Just to quickly, in brief, look at that. Political storm ahead as Uhuru seeks to assert command, and the president is facing revolt from within his party and the recent High Court judgment that declared the BBI bill is unconstitutional. Of course, just 14 months to the general election for an outgoing president who has to spend time to shape his legacy. You see that on that page, on page 4 of the Standard, you will see the stories even of Chief Justice Martha Koome, who's been appointed and sworn in last week on Friday. She takes office today, and the question is, or the quote is, doubting Toms will be watching how the new CJ hoists the sails on her new tour of duty. At 61, she has 9 years ahead of her at the helm of the judiciary. You'll be talking about that shortly after. Then bitter sibling rivalry threatens to split Ruto camp ahead of 2022 poll. The details are on page 5, the story that I just highlighted there. Then on the front page of the Daily Nation, you will see Uhuru hand in Muturi's coronation. It has been revealed, according to the Daily Nation, that it all started with President Kenyatta's remark in January that the presidency was not a preserve of only two communities. One of the planners of Saturday's ceremony says, taking the cue, Meru's Njuri Ncheke elders then made a suggestion to the head of state, which he did not oppose. The story is on page 4 of the Daily Nation. I just want to see if there is a quick look at what the details are. The elders from Embu's Nyangi Ndiriri and Meru's Njuri Ncheke started the process of grooming their own. Excuse me, the president's cousin makes revelations of events leading to Saturday's ceremony at Mukurwe wa Nyagadanga. We'll be talking about the relevance and the significance of that shortly, but I want to introduce the panelists who are already in studio. We have John Kagusha, the Speaker of Nyeri County Assembly. Karibu sana to the show.
Very much.
Gladys Boss from Uasin Gishu, welcome back.
Thank you, good morning.
Dastan Omari, Advocate of the High Court, thank you so much for making time for us. Thank you. And we'll shortly be joined by William Kamket, the Member of Parliament for Tiati. He's also the Chairperson of the Delegated Legislation Committee at the National Assembly. And I just want to begin from there. We'll get back to the relevance of the politics of what has been going on. But let me begin with you, Dastan Omari, that you are seeing the coronation of the National Assembly Speaker, and I'll be bringing you one clip there shortly. What is the significance at such a time, 14 months to the general election? Of course, you've heard from C.S. Munya asking questions. What position is that?
Well, I think there is a mistaken understanding of what politics is all about. A few of the president's executives, cabinet secretaries, PSs, speakers of the National Assembly think that to be elected, even to be in a position of an MCA is a joke. Muturi commands the respect of legislators, but he has nothing on the ground. The ground is totally different. When you look at the speaker, the only political office he has ever held is a member of parliament. That is CV, it ends there. He lost. The people of Mbere walked away from him. He was rehabilitated by President Uhuru Kenyatta by being given the position of a speaker. So I think that people should really assess what capacity they have. Two, when you look at the speaker, he's talking of that he's the best suited to speak on behalf of the Mount Kenya region. From his own backyard of Mbere, Embu, the likes of Wambora, the likes of Levi, Kinoti, Kivuti, the likes of, you move up, Munya, you've seen already Munya saying he doesn't know even where the office of the man coroner given that power is going to be. Is it going to be in the bush? So really you see from his own backyard, there is no goodwill. I hope he'll go back as a lawyer and as a former magistrate and retrace his place. The likes...
You don't think his experience really counts? I mean, he's the third most powerful person in the country.
My good teacher here will tell you, to be elected is not a joke. You can have command of guns, you can have commands of parliament, but the ground does not care about that. You saw the coronation itself. 3/4 of the people were police officers. Really, how do you go to be coronized by your own people?
I think you're looking for the word crown.
No. So the question, I really do not understand how people look at it. We've seen under President Uhuru Kenyatta a regime that everything people must, whenever Shole is being escorted to Eldoret, to her own people, she must carry 1,000 police officers. That tells you very well that that person has no connection. Two, the person who purported to be the high priest of the function is one relative of the president. The president seems to have lost touch with his brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers in Central Province. So really, what does it say? The man we do not want to vote for has brought another one. So really, you've seen...
But even if the cousin was there, how do you take it at the doorstep of the president?
What are you saying? The president is the president of the Republic of Kenya, courtesy of elections. If the president has lost the people who gave him legitimacy, it's a big question. Whoever will be seen to associate with the president will be punished.
Okay. I want us to listen to a clip of the events that were on Saturday at what you're calling... What did you call it?
I don't know whether it's a coronation, whether it is not even there in the English dictionary.
I don't know what colonization is, but listen to the clip that will tell us what exactly happened there.
Muturi comes from the smallest of the communities in the Republic of Kenya. We call Bere. There are 195,000 people. Kikuyus are 8 million plus people. The Merus are 6 million plus people. We have gone for the leader, our David, from the smallest of the communities, and we are proud of that.
Bila sisi kuwa na uhusiano wa pamoja hapa kama wakazi wa Mlima Kenya, hatuwezi kusema tunaweza kutafuta uhusiano wa Wakenya wengine.
The mandate to speak on behalf of the region comes directly from the people through the ballot. It cannot be done in some shrine somewhere. No. Shrines are for cultural issues.
The president is handicapped. Being the president of a country, you cannot sharply articulate interests, of a region. You cannot sharply articulate interests of a particular community, because all communities are yours.
If J. Bay Muturi wants to lead the Mount Kenya region, let him aspire for some office, either the presidency or the deputy presidency or whatever position, and others who want to aspire.
And Speaker Kagosha, you see, you're a speaker just like the National Assembly speaker, only that you lead a different house. I mean, what power do you have on the people? Because he says that for you to yield any power, you have to be elected first. But secondly, because you come from that region, does Speaker Muturi speak for the people of Nyeri?
Well, I'm surprised you are discussing this in Nairobi, because in Nyeri we are not talking about it. We actually don't know it happened. We are hearing this in the streets of Nairobi, that there was some, I don't know, you are calling it colonization or something?
Yes.
Yeah, we don't know about it. I mean, the gentleman doesn't speak for any one of us. And this is a private arrangement between Muturi and Kagwanja. And then they have brought on board some kind of, I don't know how to put it, but the elders who have been brought on board by Kagwanja to help him to try and make this ceremony look colorful. I mean, beyond that, there's nothing more. As my friend Omari has said, how do you get crowned, you know, in the presence of so many policemen? You know, the roads were actually closed, I hear, going to Muranga and, you know, to protect. I don't know what this was being, I don't know who was being protected against who. This is a joke, I can say that. It's a big, big joke. I don't think a common man in central Kenya today, or Mount Kenya region, feels that Muturi is speaking for them. And let me say, for you to speak for people, it is a very, very serious process. In fact, I want to kind of disagree with Honorable Rigathi on the issue that you must aspire for an office. Sometimes you don't need to aspire for an office. You don't even need to occupy an office to be the spokesman of people. Because all that people need to see is to identify with you speaking for them, with you constantly raising their issues, with you constantly being on their side. Your voice needs to be a voice that they can identify with. You know, Kagwanja talks about our David coming from a small community. But what you need to know is that David was a shepherd who had a voice, and when he spoke, the sheep heard. They would follow him because they recognized his voice.
Speaker Muturi might argue he's a shepherd and people listen to him in Bunge.
In this case, I have not heard Muturi speak for me. I have not heard Muturi speak for the region. I have not heard Muturi speak for anyone who he now purports to be coronated to stand for or to speak for. So for that reason, only for that reason, Muturi does not qualify.
Again, the same question I asked Dunstan, doesn't his experience leading the representatives of the people count for anything?
A lot of people are experienced. Experience is not all that we need. Your experience need to be used to talk for people, to speak for people. People need to identify with you. They need to know you as a familiar face, as a face that they can recognize with. And when they're in trouble, they need to hear your voice. I don't know whether
Is there such a person currently in the Mount Kenya region?
Of course, there are many. They're there. But you see what is happening in Mount Kenya region with this transition politics. I mean, we are sharply divided between the people who are now in Kieleweke and those who are in Tangatanga. And with that, we have every group that is now aspiring to be the one which is speaking. And I think the Kieleweke side seems to be a little bit more divided than the Tangatanga side, which now we have started seeing some cracks, especially after the win of the Juja MP position.
You're talking about two sides. Where do you belong?
No, I am a speaker, a very neutral person. and of course, as you know me, I do analyze these situations. I always try to look at what do we have on this side and what do we have on this side.
You have no aspirations to speak for the people of Nyeri, you just want to speak for the county?
No,
for the
really,
county assembly?
Really, if you listen to me very keenly, I do speak a lot. I speak almost on a daily basis. I actually even educate my people on legal matters, and you may have heard that I actually won an award for that reason. So I do speak for people. In fact, maybe if I was the one being coronated in Muranga, maybe some people in central Kenya would have actually identified with my voice more than the way they would identify with the Speaker of the National Assembly, you know, putting it very, very clearly. But what I would say is that for you to be a spokesman of a community, you need to have done a little bit more. You cannot do a shortcut that you go into a shrine, and when you're in that shrine now, you hope and expect that the people are going to follow you and that you are going to somehow magically and miraculously now become a spokesman of a community, which you have not been speaking for. You know, we have had policies, for example, that have gone through the National Assembly. We ought to have had Speaker Muturi from time to time actually urging members of the National Assembly to go to take certain sides, which is more popular with the Wananchi. But what we have seen so far is that Speaker Muturi actually stands in the assembly for the executive much more than he would actually stand for the common Wananchi.
Isn't that an unfair expectation, bearing in mind that the Speaker uses to moderate debate and aid in the decision-making process?
As yet it is also a leadership position. It's a very serious, influential leadership position. If you see policies that are not pro-people, as a Speaker, you also need to guide. In fact, as a Speaker, you have a bigger latitude than members of assembly or even members of county assembly, because you have the seat, you have the chair. And so, even before members make their contributions, you have a very, very good opportunity to guide. Even after they have made their decisions, you have a very good opportunity to guide in terms of what is also pro-people. So if people can't identify you with the pro-people decisions, pro-people communications, then at that point, you are not very, very close with the common mwananchi. And I would say we have had many other leaders, and we have many other leaders in this country, especially looking at the Kieleweke side, looking at the people who are in the cabinet. We have people like Munya who have been going around talking about the tea issues. We have people like Mutahi Kagwe who have handled the issue of corona and has been on the screens every day. I mean, there are people who are more familiar faces and people who have been handling issues that are more closer to people.
So imagine a better spokesperson who would come from such.
I mean, those would have actually even made better people, would have made better leaders in that regard. When you look at the Tanga side, we have people like Rigathi, who have been very vocal and very popular with people in terms of the issues that he has been articulating. If you look at Ishongwa in Kiambu, again, he's another guy who has been very, very articulated on matters to do with the people. So there are people on both sides
I want us to listen
qualified for that
before
position.
You can bring in Gladys Boss on this. She's looking pretty entertained. Let's listen to what Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya said about this.
Hiyo ni kiti gani? Na ofisi yake inakuwa wapi? Inakuanga kwa shiraini ya Njuri Ncheke ama inakuanga kwa shiraini huko Murang'a? Kuna sarakasi kama hizo zinaendelea ambazo hatusielewi. Kwa sababu hakuna eneo linakuanga na msungumzaji moja. Sasa yeye akizungumza sisi sote tutakimya. Mambo ya uongozi wa Kenya bado tunaongozwa na nani? President Uhuru Kenyatta bado hako kwa kiti. Anatuongoza, anaongeza Kenya mzima. Na hata anaongoza eneo lile anatoka. Ama anaweza ongoza Kenya yote hawe kwao aongozi.
Okay, all right. Gladys Boss, what do you make of this? And should it inform anything moving to 2022 election?
Okay, I must say that I'm not sure because I don't even understand. It's a culture that I don't understand. I'm not from that community. Maybe we were talking about the Talai clan and people like that, I'll be able to understand it. But this is the first time I'm seeing it actually. So I'm curious to hear from people like Mr. Speaker here to tell us because he comes from the region, understands. But he's put it well. He said we are talking about it in Nairobi. They're not talking about it in Nyeri. So.
But in the country's politics, because you've been around, you've observed several transitions and different politics of different regions. Do such count when a community, whether it's Talai or it's the Gikuyu Council, would they come together and say that this is going to be a spokesperson? Does it count for anything, or it's a bigger conversation of what sort of a politician you are?
No, I think actually the voice of the people should just come from the people. And they do that by electing their leaders. And that is how it has always worked. As to whether the blessings or the coronation by the clan matters, it depends on how people on the ground feel towards it. I don't think it would be something that you just be crowned. I think it's, we don't know what value the people of Njuri Ncheke or the Merus or the central Mount Kenya region places the value of that kind of ceremony.
Wow. So that's Mari. So what shall we see? What more shall we see in the different communities of the country as different regions come together?
But I think Sam, let me just put it this way also.
Okay.
You must also remember that 60% of the voters in 2022 are going to be young people. It's going to be the youth. So as to whether the youth value that is a different issue. So I think we should now be talking about who is the voice of that 60% of our voting bloc. That is what matters. Things have changed. Believe me, my children have no, they don't, young people, you talk to them, they don't understand these tribal things you people are talking about. They have no understanding whatsoever. So when you talk about communities, maybe it's with my generation and upwards. But anybody, the young people, they have no value for it at all. So things are changing in Kenya.
And maybe that's why it's not being talked about in Nyeri. Because when you look at the WhatsApp groups and all that, I have not actually seen anyone so interested in that activity. It's like it has not had any impact in the people of that region in a very interesting manner.
Okay. Dunstan, take us away from this because, yes, in 14 months there will be an election in this country. If you look around, there are several people that have come up as the would-be leaders of regions. And it's always a contest. If you're talking about the eastern part of Ukambani, there is Kalonzo Musyoka as the de facto leader. But you've seen the governors in that region trying to make a case for themselves. So how much of this shall we see in 2022?
I think free advice has come from my lecturer, boss, to those ones angling for tribal positions. The young people in those communities are tribeless. Almost all of them are tribeless. You'll ascertain that those who have young boys and young girls who are maturing, either they're in university, they don't know Kisi. Mm-hmm. And yet the mother and father are Kisi. They have no business with where you come from. Their business is who can deliver, who can talk in their language. So when we see chiefs claiming to be Kalonzo in Ukambani, his age mates will be Modama and the others. But the youths of Ukambani have different issues that they need. They need employment, they need the Wi-Fi, they need somebody who will talk about the digital aspect of business, not about those things that those people are talking. You have seen a clamor for kings. In Coast, we have Joho, we have Kingi. They think that they are talking on behalf of those people. The Coastarians have moved away from the traditional way of business to a new concept. You come to the Maasai land, there's a battle between Olelenkul and whether it's the governor retiring from Narok. That battle is going to be determined not because of the question of cows, but the question of who will change the mode of farming from nomadic pastoralism to the modern way of farming of livestock. When you go to Nyanza, you've seen Raila Odinga, the problem he's facing is that people are feeling, no. Your agenda was the Kenyatta Jaramogi Oginga agenda. We need a new agenda. New young people, David Ocheng are coming up. People are really coming up to say, we can challenge this status quo, the Obados. When you go to Kisii, the Nyachayes left, Matiangis have come, but they are not having the traction with the people. So in my own view, Central Province finds themselves in a situation that President Uhuru Kenyatta has brought them. When Jomo left, accidentally, Jomo left and Moi penetrated and got power. Kibaki, by the time Kibaki was leaving, he had to pull Uhuru Kenyatta from Raila Odinga's camp, come in, join me, so that you come to take over power. President Uhuru Kenyatta has failed to see that. So this desperate attempt we are seeing the Speaker, JB, being pulled is a realization too late. In Baringo, Gideon Moi and his friend, the MP for Kapket, Mr. Kapket is here. He'll tell us whether Gideon Moi will connect to the people just because he comes from Baringo or because he has a development record. So in my own view, we are likely to see all these chiefs totally lose elections come 2022. We are going to see youths below 35 being elected. You never see nowadays MCAs who are above 35. What happened? The Joe Akechis. They are all whitewashed. Parliament and the presidency is going to come to a young person who can talk the language of the youth. So in my own view, all these tribal chiefs who have been conning people from 1964 to date, their time of reckoning will be on the second Tuesday of August 2022. Actually, you see the direction. Do in families, are parents in control of their children? Unless you are very, very accommodating to allow, to appear to listen to what they want.
Okay.
That's my position.
Okay, and William Kamket is here, Member of Parliament for Tiati. Karibu sana. We were winding up on this conversation around the crowning of, is it coronation of your speaker? I remember you at Bunge asking where he is and whether he is on some spell. What do you make of that coronation that was over the weekend? And the significance of that towards 2022.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I am Honorable Muturi. Is a very experienced politician, and his crowning is part of the processes of politics. Many others have been crowned before. It's not a surprise to me, and I believe that the games of succession and formations are just taking shape, and I believe it was only a matter of time before someone from Gema emerged. I am sure he's not the last.
The panelists here believe that he has no constituency.
Who?
Back there, the speaker.
Who?
That he cannot speak for the interest of the people in that region.
Who said that?
The panelists here.
Oh, who are they? This is the speaker for Nyeri. And the other, Mr. Omari and Gladys, they have. Okay, maybe him can say something, but the others cannot.
I didn't actually comment on it.
Okay.
I said I have no knowledge of the. I have no knowledge of the culture.
So
and in actual sense, maybe just to appraise him on the same, we said the issue of the Bunge constituency really doesn't matter much. What matters much is if he has been speaking for the people where he is being coronated to represent. Has he been speaking for them? Do they feel that they identify with his voice?
Okay.
I think that is the point.
No.
And there's a feeling that is not there.
Okay. That's your thinking. What I know is that there can never be succession politics without the real play from Gema. It was always a fallacy for anybody to think that you can play politics succession without Gema. And Muturi is just now emerging. I am sure there will be others.
Okay, all right.
Because of the sheer numbers and the sheer resources that they
Now you see the difference. He's talking about Gema, tribal affiliation,
yes,
which is irrelevant in Kenya today. With
no. You know, Gladys, you cannot say tribe is irrelevant. You know, we are all first-timers, me and you are first-timers in Parliament, and we cannot, but we have been around. You cannot say that the tribe is irrelevant. That's a lie. Please do not bring that lie around. It's a lie, that it's a narrative that you guys are trying to create now. Yet you are the biggest beneficiary of the tribal card. Come on. Let's not play that. Let's not play that.
No, you know, I talk to my children. My children
not her in
have no
person,
idea.
but the political ideology that they're trying to bring now.
Okay, all right. We'll, of course, this discussion continues. I want us to take a short break. When we come back, we'll be talking about the new Chief Justice who takes office officially today. That is Chief Justice Martha Koome. Doesn't that sound nice, Gladys? Doesn't it?
Yes, very good. Lady Justice.
Right, Lady Justice.
Gladys was she's a trailblazer. She was first.
CRJ.
She was there in the judiciary.
Sure.
And I'm sure she has a lot to say about that.
Okay, so we'll do that after the break. You can text in your views 22422 or tweet us at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag to use is @daybreak. We're back in a moment.